everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang.
You think they wouldn't have taken me to jail if there's a shred of evidence of me harassing black people? You think this DA doesn't want to see me behind bars? I hope for the sake of these YouTubers that are defaming and slandering me, I hope they hit me with some charges soon. Because if not, wow, this doesn't look good in court, man. It doesn't look good in a defamation and slander case that you're out shaming this guy and saying all these false things about him. Where are the charges? Where's the evidence? Chud's out harassing black people. That's illegal. Why haven't I been charged with it? Why is there a petition with thousands of names on it? And still the DA chooses not to charge me. It's almost like there's no evidence. It's almost like when you look at the totality of all of the provided videos, it's almost like I'm the victim here. But guess what? You will never admit that you are a problem. You'll never admit that Chud's only famous because he's standing up to the harassers that harass him, that have tried to interrupt his business, that have tried to starve him, that have tried literally threaten his life for years.
I walked up to them because they were pointing at me. They were laughing. They were pointing at me, and I said, "What's up, guys? How y'all doing?" I said, "Y'all like the new suit?" He said, "Walk away from me." I walked away from him. He came back up to me. He literally said, "I have PTSD. I feel like I'm in." He said, "You start saying all that chimp out shit to me, I'm gonna hit you." He hit me, started wailing on me, even after I had to defend myself by shooting him. He's still wailing on me.
Where's your weapon at?
They have everything.
What weapon is that right there?
I believe that's it. Is that yours?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's talking to them right now. Oh, no, you guys are going to do your thing.
Known online as Chud the Builder is facing attempted murder charges.
Investigators say a fight outside the Montgomery County Courthouse this week led to gunfire. Let's go to News 2's Jaxie Pigeon. She's live in Clarksville. And Jaxie, you have new information following this shooting.
Mark and Nicole, this all unfolded outside the courthouse on Wednesday, and now investigators are working to determine what sparked it. So deputies and Clarksville police responded to Millennium Plaza around 1 o'clock yesterday after reports of shots fired. When they got there, they detained two men who they say had been fighting before things escalated. Both were taken to the hospital with gunshot wounds and are expected to survive. Authorities identified one of the men as 28-year-old Dalton Etherly, who goes by Chud the Builder online. He's known locally for live streaming confrontations and making racist comments in public. He's now charged with criminal attempted murder, aggravated assault, reckless endangerment, and employing a firearm during a dangerous felony. Etherly remains in the Montgomery County Jail this morning awaiting arraignment, where a judge will set bond. In a statement, Montgomery County Sheriff John Fuson says, quote, "It's unfortunate that incidents like this are happening in our community. This kind of violence won't be tolerated, and our office will work to make sure those responsible are held accountable to the fullest extent of the law." And because this investigation is still active, the entire courts complex here in Montgomery County will be closed for today.
What it do, everyday people, man? It's your boy PJ. Today we back with another lit video, back in the confessional, and yes, we staying lit, big dog, man. Shout out to my everyday people who rock with me every day. Yeah, man, Chud the Builder. Okay, listen, we got some updated information about the live stream that Chud was on while he got shot. Okay, so there's some updated information, and we're gonna tap into a little bit of that. We're gonna assess the whole courtroom situation where he was given a $1.2 million bond, and then we're gonna talk to or react to Myron Gaines' live stream, which he talked to a lawyer about his Chud the Builder's self-defense claims, as you heard in the first clip. All right, let's get into it.
Anybody that caused any kind of disturbance at all is subject to being in direct contempt and serving 10 days in jail and a $50 fine or both. I just want you to know that. We're not going to put up with any outbursts or any shenanigans today. Okay? Any questions? Okay, what do we got? State versus Dalton Etherly. I'm bringing Mr. Etherly out.
Imagine being escorted into into the courthouse by a black officer. The ones that you really say are about to be chimping out. And the only person who's about to chimp out is Dalton.
Good morning, Mr. Etherly. You're here this morning, case number 26CR52.
Look at him. He like, you lackadaisical, non-statistical goober. It's multiple black officers in there. You don't want to chimp out in there, do you? Do you, Chud? Chutter Bob the Builder. That's it. Chutter Bob the Builder shot himself in the leg today while trying to defend himself.
295. You're charged in count 1 of criminal homicide, 39-13-201. That's an A felony. It's punishable by 15 to 60 years in state penitentiary. Count 2 is employment of firearm during a dangerous felony, 39-17-13-24. That's
Did he say criminal homicide?
a D felony. Normally, that range of punishment would be 2 to 4 years in state penitentiary. However, by statute, this case is a charge is enhanced, and if you don't have any prior convictions, it's a mandatory 6-year sentence at 100%. Count 3 is ag assault with serious bodily harm, 39-13-102. It's a C felony, carries a range of punishment 3 to 15 years in state penitentiary. Count 4 is reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon, also a C felony, 3 to 15 years in state penitentiary.
Hold on, we gotta go back.
Punishable by 15 to 60 years. 6CR5295. You're charged in count 1 of criminal homicide, 39-13-201. That's an A felony. It's punishable by 15 to 60 years in state penitentiary. Count 2 is employment of firearm during a dangerous felony, 39-17-13-24. That's a D felony. Normally, that range of punishment would be 2 to 4 years in state penitentiary. However, by statute, this case is a charge is enhanced, and if you don't have any prior convictions, it's a mandatory 6-year sentence at 100%. Count 3 is ag assault with serious bodily harm, 39-13-102. It's a C felony, carries a range of punishment 3 to 15 years in state penitentiary. Count 4 is reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon, also a C felony, 3 to 15 years in state penitentiary. Have you hired an attorney yet, sir?
Yes, sir.
You have?
Well, I have Jake Finley.
Okay, Mr. Finley's here. You been hired yet, Mr. Finley? I know you have a prior relationship with him in other cases.
No money has changed.
No,
hands.
all right.
Just
So
spots.
I'm going to appoint Mr. Finley right now to represent you. Should you make your bond and you want to hire Mr. If you make bond, you're going to need to probably hire Mr. Finley. I'm going to set this for preliminary hearing on the 26th of May. All right. That'll be inside the 14 days, Mr. Finley.
May 26th.
Does that work for your calendar?
I can double check, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Is the bail set?
Not yet. I'm about to do that. I want to make sure he's got an attorney and all that stuff first.
Yes, sir. May 26th.
Okay. All right. Bond. Bond's not been set yet. General, do you have a position on bond today?
Yeah, Mr. Etherly is on bond on 2 cases, one from here, one from Davidson County.
Okay.
Pending a hearing where the court could be informed and make a decision based on bond factors. I respectfully request to be held without bond until a day we could have the hearing.
Okay.
So the court can make an informed decision. Right now, it would just be arbitrary.
Okay.
Setting the number.
All right. Thank you, General. When the court sets bond, if we have a bond, when we have a bond hearing, we'll consider TCA 4011-118. The overriding intent of that statute now is to protect the public interest and public safety. Mr. Easley's on bond apparently on several other matters when this matter was allegedly committed. I'm looking at an A and really a super D, a C, really 3 C's and an A really for tracking kind of purposes. It's pretty serious.
Your Honor mentioned criminal homicide. I thought that was attempted.
I said, did I say homicide? I meant to say attempted criminal homicide if I didn't.
Okay,
I
understood.
thought I did, but that's still an A felony.
Okay, that's what I heard the same thing. So yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we're gonna have a bail
I'm
hearing.
gonna set just a bond right now till we have our bail hearing. Then I'll let you make all the arguments. We can go through all the factors in the statute and see if that gets amended up or down, okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to set initial bond at $1.25 million. Based upon the fact of how many people were in the court.
That fool closed his eyes and he felt his stomach touch his balls.
We're here at the courthouse, and the seriousness of all these felonies and his bond status. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So the 26th at 9 o'clock, I'm sorry, the 21st at 9 o'clock for a bond hearing, and then the 26th at 9 for a preliminary hearing right here. Does that work for everybody's calendar? General, does that work for the state?
Yes.
All right.
Just for the court's information and Mr. Finley, the state is going to request and file a source hearing when and if there's an attempt to make bond.
Okay. Is there any objection of us taking all those matters up at the bond hearing on the 21st?
No.
And Mr. Finley, do you have any objection to doing it that way? That's the most efficient way, I think.
Judge, we'll try and have everything lined up for the court.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Mr. Finley, from you today?
No, sir.
All right. From the state? Okay.
No.
That'll conclude these proceedings today, okay?
Thank you.
We'll be in recess.
Go to your recess. Keep your seats.
All right, so that was the full court hearing for his bond, and he'll have a preliminary hearing and another bond hearing on the 21st, which is, I think, Thursday.
I'm going to set initial bond at $1.25 million.
So we just got a hold of an arrest warrant for Dalton Etherly that reveals new details, including the name of the man that he got into an altercation with and is alleged to have shot, that he's facing this very serious charge of attempted murder. That other man has been identified by Montgomery County officials as Joshua Fox. We also got a narrative here within the affidavit. They gave a lot more details into what happened outside of that Montgomery County courthouse on Wednesday. Officers noted that they watched surveillance video, and in that video, they saw that this started out as a verbal fight, that Etherly turned toward Fox and then reached for his firearm, and then a physical fight ensued. Etherly, according to this affidavit, then shot Fox multiple times. Fox was then airlifted over to Vanderbilt Hospital, where he underwent emergency surgery. Now, Etherly live streamed himself, the interaction, it's caught on audio, the interaction that he had with first responders shortly after he's alleged to have shot Fox.
He said, "You start saying all that me, I'm gonna hit you." He hit me, started wailing on me, even after I had to defend myself by shooting him. He's still wailing on me.
Now, in that live stream, Etherly says that he didn't start shooting until Fox started to beat up on him. But it's important to note that in the actual narrative of the affidavit, officers note that in the surveillance video that they witnessed, this never turned physical until Etherly pulled out his gun. Of course, we've reached out to his attorney for comment, but again, this is a live streamer who's made a name out of himself out of essentially rage baiting, of saying vile content, of going up to people, especially minorities and black people, calling them the N-word, calling them chimps. So there's been a major backlash from the community about this individual for a long time before this happened.
That is correct. So there is surveillance footage, and there's surveillance footage, and there is streaming footage. Now, the streaming footage has been subpoenaed by the courts. So supposedly there's AI technology that when gunfire goes off, stream will cut off. So that's part of the reason when the altercation happens that we don't get the footage. I did not put the altercation in this video. Reason being, I don't want to show violence on YouTube. And every time I do and I cover it up, yeah, I'll be like, why you cover it up, goofies? Okay, anyway.
Tennessee laws might go ahead and keep Chud the Builder from using his GoFundMe money to bail himself out of jail. So, Chud the Builder, he is in jail currently with a $1.25 million bond because he's an antagonist and he's a big hard R word. He went out around the courthouse where he's already fighting stuff, and decides to antagonize another African-American veteran man. He decides to go ahead and punch him in the face because that's what he needed. And then Chud the Builder decided to go ahead and lift up his blicky and use it. Everyone's talking about this is stand your ground, stand your ground. He was protecting himself. No. The stand your ground law does not stand when you are the antagonist, when you create the problem that you, quote unquote, had to defend yourself in. And when it comes to that money from that GoFundMe, so there's a law in Tennessee, right? Shout out to the war on drugs, where you cannot use any of your funds from an illicit crime to bail yourself out of jail. So when this goes back to the war on drugs, it goes back to drug conviction. So a drug dealer cannot use his money from his illicit crimes to then bail himself out of jail. Now, I don't know if this money will be go ahead and confiscated or if GoFundMe will return this back to all the people who decided to donate. But shout out to the ancestors and shout out to the systems that are placed in there to hold people of color back that are now keeping Chud the Builder in jail. Tell me what you guys think about this. Don't forget to drop some comments. Go check out my profile. This case is very interesting.
Here's a tweet that comes from a guy named Myron King. He's been kind of giving updates on this situation. I think him and Chud are friends. But here's what he said, and this was a couple of hours ago. Quote, Chud update. Here are some fun facts that you'll see developing. The entire exchange was live streamed on Pump Fun. That's the streaming service I was telling you guys about before. The stream shut down at the first gunshot due to an automated AI response system. The stream is being subpoenaed. The facts according to over 100 witnesses watching the live stream. Chud told the guy, quote, I hope your day gets better. God bless, end quote. Then it goes, Chud had already walked away, was about 70 to 100 yards away. The man went out of his way to run up on Chud while his back was turned. He confronted Chud. He punched Chud in the face. Chud didn't instigate anything. Some of you are about to look absolutely stupid. Now, let's assume, let's take his bias here because obviously he's his friend. But let's assume that this fact pattern is correct, and this is what actually went down. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, that looks a lot better than some of the alternative fact patterns for sure. So let me give people the framework that I apply when I break down any use of force case or any case I'm working on. And I get paid a lot of money to do this. And you'll be surprised to know, maybe, that there's only 5 things you need for self-defense. It's very simple. It's like a child's jigsaw puzzle with 5 giant pieces. It's not, the law's not complicated. And those 5 pieces are innocence, imminence, proportionality, avoidance, and reasonableness. That means innocence, you can't have been the initial aggressor or the person who provoked the fight. If you do that, you lose innocence, you lose self-defense. And by the way, all these elements are required. If any one of them is missing, you don't have self-defense. Whatever you did, it was not lawful self-defense. So another way to think of these is each of these elements I'm talking about is a target of attack for the prosecutor. So a prosecutor who knows what he's doing, he gets that investigative report from the detectives and he's thinking to himself, all right, I have to be able to disprove one of these beyond a reasonable doubt, and then I win. And the reason he wins is, if you think about it, when you claim self-defense, like Chud the Builder is going to be claiming, you're not saying it wasn't me. You're not saying I have an alibi. I wasn't there. You're saying the opposite of that. You're saying it was me. I shot that guy, but I did it in self-defense. Well, the prosecutor knows if he can defeat one of those required 5 elements and self-defense goes away, the only thing that's left of I shot that guy, but it was self-defense is I shot that guy. It's just a confession. So the prosecutor's looking at these 5 elements to see which one looks vulnerable to being disproven beyond a reasonable doubt. If you were the initial aggressor or the provoker, you lose innocence, you lose self-defense. Prosecutor knows that. The next is imminence. You have to be defending yourself against a threat that's either actually occurring in the moment or immediately about to occur. The fist is pulled back, the guy's reaching for a weapon. It can't be something that happened in the past. It can't be something that might happen in the future. Proportionality, and this could be a problem for Chud, is you can only use deadly defensive force if you're facing a deadly force threat. If you're only facing a non-deadly force threat, you can't use a gun to defend yourself against a non-deadly force threat. And usually a punch is going to be considered a non-deadly force threat. So that could be an issue here. Avoidance is the 4th element. That has to do with whether or not you have a legal duty to retreat before you can defend yourself. Tennessee, like most states, is a stand your ground state. So in otherwise lawful self-defense, you don't have a legal duty to retreat. But what if the self-defense is not otherwise lawful? What if it has some other defect? Then even in Tennessee, which was one of the first stand your ground states, you can reacquire a legal duty to retreat. And then finally, reasonableness. And this is a broad target of attack because it just asks generally, would a reasonable and prudent person do what you did? And let's face it, anyone who's a social media provocateur is doing a lot of stuff that's kind of outside the Overton window and does not look reasonable to a normie jury. I mean, just imagine a typical juror in this, little town in Tennessee.
Yep.
Most white people have been socially conditioned their whole lives to viscerally recoil if they were to see a white guy call a black guy the N-word to his face.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
They don't consider that normal. They don't consider that reasonable. So that could be an issue. Now, of course, we don't know that that happened here, but so what the prosecutor's looking for is, well, if Chud provoked this fight, again, we don't know if that happened, but if it provoked the fight, that complicates Chud's claim of self-defense. That's a target for attack. If Chud went to the gun when a gun deadly defensive force was disproportionate, that's the element of proportionality.
I'm going to say this. Chud, based on what he just said.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
They don't consider that normal. They don't consider that reasonable. So that could be an C.
Yep.
Most white people have been socially conditioned their whole lives to viscerally recoil if they were to see a white guy call a black guy the N-word to his face.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
They don't consider that normal. They don't consider that reasonable. So that could be an issue. Now, of course, we don't know that that happened here, but so what the prosecutor's looking for is, well, if Chud provoked this fight, again, we don't know if that happened, but if it provoked the fight, that complicates Chud's claim of self-defense. That's a target for attack. If Chud went to the gun when a gun deadly defensive force was disproportionate, that's the element of proportionality, vulnerable to attack. And if Chud engaged in behavior that the prosecutor believes a typical juror in his district would find unreasonable, that's a target for attack for the prosecutor. So it depends on how the facts work out. If Chud provoked the confrontation, if Chud went to the gun when he shouldn't have, if Chud acted unreasonably, well, there's only 5 elements of self-defense, and now 3 of them are viable attacks for the prosecutor. Of course, if Chud didn't do any of that, if the facts we just heard recounted by Amiri were, he was basically innocuous, minding his own business, got attacked from behind, didn't provoke anybody, had reason to believe he was being threatened with a deadly force attack, which doesn't require death, but either death or serious bodily injury. And he had reason to believe this, that it wasn't speculative, it wasn't bare fear. Well, then he's got a very solid claim of self-defense, but we can't really know until we see evidence.
We got to wait till we see evidence, but Chutter Bob the Builder's friend says that there will be evidence coming from the live stream, which was mysteriously cut off because Chud shot someone.